Welcome to the Explainer. There's a quiet revolution happening right now in the world of business research. It's all in response to a really critical problem. A lot of famous, influential studies, well, they just can't be repeated. So researchers are having to upgrade their entire approach, and the consequences for business and policy are huge. So let's break down how they're basically reinventing the rules of science.
All right, here's the plan. First, we'll look at the crisis that started this whole thing. Then, we'll dive into the three big parts of the solution: reconsidering old tools, refashioning with new tech, and, maybe the biggest one, reconceptualizing the rules of the game itself. And finally, we'll look at what this all means for the future.
So let's start with the big question. What is the problem here? Well, for about the last decade, a lot of the social sciences have been dealing with what's called a replication crisis. The whole idea of science, right, is that a study should be repeatable. You should be able to get the same result twice. But more and more, that's just not happening. And as we're about to see, international business research is right in the middle of it.
And the scale of this problem? It's pretty staggering. A huge project tried to replicate 29 key studies in the field. And guess what? They only succeeded 40% of the time. Now, this isn't about fraud or anything like that. It's a clear signal that the methods we've been using are, well, they're just overdue for a serious upgrade.
This brings up the absolute central question, doesn't it? If the very foundation of our research is shaky, what can we actually trust? How are managers and policymakers supposed to make good decisions based on this stuff? The good news, though, is that the field is taking this challenge head on, and that's what we're going to explore.
Okay, so the first part of the solution is all about reconsidering the existing toolbox. It turns out some of the most powerful ways to fix this aren't brand new inventions. They're actually just powerful, kind of neglected tools that are perfect for solving today's biggest problems. So on the qualitative side of things, the standard approach for a long time has been the multiple case study, based on a bunch of interviews. But researchers are rediscovering something called ethnography. Instead of just doing quick interviews across many companies, it's more like being an undercover anthropologist, spending months or even years totally embedded inside one single company. It's a huge shift from breadth to incredible depth. And ethnography isn't just about collecting cool stories. The goal is to produce what's called thick description. And that's really a form of theorizing. It says you can't understand a single event, say a failed merger, without understanding the entire messy context around it. The part simply cannot be understood when it's detached from the whole. Now, let's switch gears to the quantitative side, the number side. Because business, especially international business, isn't some simple, flat landscape. No way. It's complex, and it's deeply layered, with all these different forces pushing and pulling at different levels, all at the exact same time. Just think of business data like a set of Russian nesting dolls. You've got an employee who is nested inside a team, which is inside a subsidiary, which is inside a giant multinational corporation, which is operating within a host country. You can't just ignore these layers. An employee's performance is shaped by their team, their company, and the national culture they're in. So to untangle all this complexity, researchers are turning to something called multilevel modeling, or MLM. It's this really smart statistical tool that lets you analyze all those nested layers at the same time. It can actually show you how much of an outcome is explained by the individual versus the team or the company or the country. It gives you a much more realistic picture of how business actually works. All right, next up, refashioning research with brand new tools. The digital revolution has completely changed the game, unlocking these vast new data sources and incredibly powerful ways to make sense of them. The sheer amount of new evidence out there is just staggering. Researchers can now use computers to analyze millions of documents for hidden patterns. They can conduct what's called ethnography by studying online communities on social media. They can even use visual methods on things like corporate videos to see how businesses are really perceived. But the biggest game changer of them all, it has to be machine learning. It's just a fundamentally new and powerful way to find hidden insights in all of that complex, messy, real-world data. Now, machine learning kind of comes in a few different flavors. You've got unsupervised ML, which is great at finding hidden patterns all by itself in raw data. Then there's supervised ML, which you train on labeled data to help it make predictions. And then there's semi-supervised ML, which uses just a little bit of human guidance to make sense of a ton of raw data. It's absolutely perfect for real-world business problems. And that brings us to our final and honestly most profound R, reconceptualizing. Because the biggest upgrade here isn't a new tool at all.
It's about changing the entire philosophy of what even makes a good research result in the first place. It all kicked off with this groundbreaking study that asked a really simple question. What happens if you give dozens of top research teams the exact same data and ask them the exact same question? The assumption, of course, is that they'd all get the same answer. Well, they didn't. Not even close. So here's the gut punch. For one key relationship, 61 different analysts got results ranging from a significant negative effect all the way to a significant positive one. Think about that. Using the exact same data, one team proved something helps, while another proved it hurts. This happens because researchers are always making dozens of small, perfectly valid analytical choices. And all those little choices add up to a huge difference. The solution is this pretty radical idea called multiverse analysis. Instead of pretending there's only one true result out there to be found, it actually embraces all of that uncertainty. The goal becomes to map out all the different plausible results that come from every valid analytical choice you could make. This quote just captures the new mindset perfectly. A single data set actually contains a whole universe of potential truths. So the modern researcher's job isn't to just pick one and declare victory, but to map that entire multiverse, showing all of us which findings are really robust and which ones are, well, pretty fragile.
So where does all of this leave us? When you put all these pieces together, what does the future of business research really start to look like? Okay, so let's do a quick recap. The path forward really has three main parts. First, we reconsider powerful old methods that give us depth. Second, we refashion our work with amazing new technologies like machine learning. And third, and maybe most importantly, we reconceptualize our entire goal. Stop searching for a single truth and start mapping the entire multiverse of possibilities. So why does any of this actually matter? I mean, this isn't just some academic debate. Better, more transparent, more honest research leads to more reliable knowledge. And that's the knowledge that informs the business, strategies, and the public policies that shape our entire world. Upgrading science means better outcomes for every single one of us. And we'll end on this thought. Science has always been about this quest for objective truth. But if a single data set can hold many valid and even contradictory truths, what does objective even mean anymore? It's a really profound question, not just for researchers, but for all of us who rely on their work. Thanks for watching The Explainer.